here, Mary, and can I just say how lovely it is to see you all. And I'm very grateful for the work that you continue to do. I'm also delighted that you're debating devolution next month as part of this, because the implications are huge. Get Brexit done. It hasn't even started yet. And to pick up on what Michael was saying, and part of the reason that I wanted Michael to go first, and thank you, Michael, is because we have been very closely, as ex-Labour MEPs and also the Social Democrats, following the threads that Michael has produced and has put out there on social media, because we agree with him. So I think that's probably what I should say, that I endorse everything that he's just said. And I have the privilege of working on the clean energy package, which is about climate neutral Europe, renewables, energy efficiency, energy poverty. And absolutely what Michael said is that piece of legislation was the clean energy package for all European citizens. The whole point was it was citizen-centric and citizen-approached. And why did I do so much work on energy poverty? And I'm sorry, Mary, you've heard me say this before, but when I was a councillor in Liverpool, a 27-year-old single mum of 3 came to my surgery, and she had been disconnected from her energy supply. And the idea that anybody could be disconnected from energy, which isn't a commodity, it's a basic social right, due to affordability, was something as Europe, across Europe, we were trying to address. And there has been quite a lot of progress since the end of January in terms of fighting climate change. You can't fight climate change as one member state alone. And as Michael said, I don't happen to believe that mackerel understand borders. I have the privilege of working in Northern Ireland after the Good Friday Agreement. I was asked to go and mentor politicians from all political parties in terms of what they could expect from Objective 1 funding. Because until the GFA, the precious GFA, Good Friday Agreement, what they had was a minister turning up in Northern Ireland one Thursday of every month. And when they first became members as politicians of the Objective 1 Monitoring Committee, they were getting 75 pages of faxes the night before a meeting. So we had to say, no, you have the right to technical meetings, you have the right to interrogate the information, you have a right to know where the beneficiaries of this funding was going. And we saw in Merseyside, didn't we, how Objective 1 actually helped to transform the sub-region when a then Tory minister said that Merseyside could go into, and I quote, managed decline. It hasn't started yet. We've seen redundancies at Rolls-Royce in Von Olswick. We have seen the automotive industry in my region on its knees. We have seen the creative industries and the threats to creatives. What happens in terms of the Parliament, and I checked today with the Parliament on this, obviously because the Parliament didn't vote before Christmas, and people forget that the Parliament does have a vote. The Parliament, ironically, has more time now to interrogate the implications of the deal. And it's highly likely, in the same way as it would with any trade agreement, to go to every relevant committee rather than just being a vote in plenary. So it will go to the individual committees. So Justice, Foreign Affairs, Energy, Industry, Environmental Protections, etc. It is likely that they will take between 2 and 3 months to interrogate the deal. But I think, to be realistic, the Parliament will end up voting for it. But what I'm hoping is what the Parliament may be able to do during the interrogation process is actually unpick some of the mistruths and lies that Johnson has said about the implications of this deal, so that we can actually get some sort of more forensic, in the way that Michael has done, approach from our colleagues in Europe, which might give us, and it's the theme, Mary, of our meeting, a way back. As I said, we all got very upset, obviously, on the 31st of December. But as I said, that I think there will be a way back, but you know, it's not going to be in our lifetimes. It will be generations hence. But I'm hoping what the scrutiny will do in terms of the Parliament is maybe give us some levers that we can actually use as an opposition, again, with the Tory government, but more importantly, in terms of maybe ways forward that we can actually make some changes. We're not part of the internal energy market. And I asked for that from the very beginning. I had the privilege to work on legislation which was the security of energy supply, which means that, God forbid, if there was a threat to the energy output in the UK, our neighbours would give us energy to keep the dialysis machines running in our hospitals and the lights on in our schools. Nobody can give me an adequate answer to what happens, but we're not part of the internal energy market. Robbing our young people of Erasmus is just heartbreaking in terms of, as Michael said, this isn't just economic, it's social, it's cultural. It's the most important peace project in history. And the idea that we could take from our young people the ability to actually go and learn and to be in different cultural environments, I just think is shocking. Foreign policy, security and defence, there are lots of questions still to be met there. Still, in terms of Northern Ireland, the implications are massive. As you know, Mary, I have family in Derry, I have family in Donegal. At the moment, as part of the Good Friday Agreement, there are 13 cross-border health services, which means that, God forbid, if you have a heart attack on one or other side of the border, you get taken to the health facility nearest to you. I have had some assurances that that will continue to be the case. And certainly the SDLP are working very hard on this in Northern Ireland. I think what's happened to EU nationals is scandalous and is a national disgrace. You'll remember that just after the referendum result, there was a Polish man with his two children on a tram in Manchester, and he was told by a group of young people to go home. But luckily on the same tram, there was another group of young people who actually filmed the perpetrators and they were brought to justice. But the idea that this has sown a division in our region, never mind the country, is just appalling and, in my view, indefensible. I'm very worried about any in-time production. As you know, there is a component that goes into the wing of an Airbus that at the moment, up until the 31st, went through 7 countries in its production. We've already seen Boris Johnson applying for his French passport. I am an Irish citizen, both my parents are Irish, and I really held out in terms of getting my Irish passport because it somehow felt defeatist, but in the end, I applied for it. I did put it on Twitter. And the idea that friends and family are being robbed of freedom of movement is just, in my view, an awful retrograde step. We will continue to do what we can. And again, Mary, coming back to the theme of today, the Social and Democrat group are still reaching out to us. The SPD in Germany is still reaching out to us. The Party of European Socialists is still reaching out to us. And Sarge, you will know that there are EPP MEPs that are still, from the likes of Sean Kelly from Ireland, that are still reaching out to us because they want to make sure that Merseyside, still as we can achieve it, is international. Those links are there. I think we're paving the way for something which at the moment is mighty distant. But we have to keep those links open. We have to keep those relationships going. It was the AGM of the Labour Party Irish Society last night. We have to keep our links sound and profound with our colleagues in Ireland, and the idea of the border in the Irish Sea. Just, you know, I remember as a child, because my dad was from Donegal, and we used to get the ferry over, and there used to be, God, 6 of us in a tiny car. Me, because I was the youngest, sitting in the footwell, but you know, at the bottom between my uncle's legs. But I remember actually, you know, a rifle being put in the side of that car. You know, that's real for me. I was very young, but I remember it. And we absolutely have got to do what we can to build social cohesion, to celebrate our multiculturalism, and to actually celebrate the fact that we are Europeans. The legislation might have taken rights away from us, but culturally, we are Europeans, and we need to send that message out to our friends right across Europe and right across the world. Thank you.